Hey, sports fans. Welcome to another Blue Collar Sports Talk. I'm going to let HuskerBot 3000 give you a rundown on what we're going to talk about today. Thank you, Darrell. I am HuskerBot 3000. On today's show, James and Darrell will discuss TCU versus Colorado. Colorado will play Nebraska soon. Next, James and Darrell will talk about Nebraska going on the road to take on the Minnesota Gophers. Hey, thanks HuskerBot 3000. And now here's our show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday recording of Blue Collar Sports Talk.
Morning.
James there, Darrell here. And if you're anywhere near the Midwest, you have been singing the praises of heat and humidity the last few days.
And I get it, especially here in Nebraska, we understand there's always 2 or 3 games that we get in August, September, or mostly September, obviously. People get a little heat, a little hot, but the humidity going through right now, I'm not in Louisiana, East Texas, Mississippi. Please take it away. The heat I'm okay with. I have no problem with the little 100, 105.
But when your toenails sweat?
Oh, man, when your socks are swimming, and then they go, hey, you want to work over tonight? I would love to, but I don't think I have another pair of socks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those situations where you know you're sweating when you don't go to the bathroom and pee at all in 8 hours. You just sweat it all out. So sweating. I'm thinking Deion Sanders, newest head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, is sweating this first TCU game.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sure he's not telling anybody he's sweating, but man.
And the main reason is we all know he's new to the team and he's rebuilding it and he's trying to get his guys in. But you draw a TCU team, yeah, they lost their quarterback, but they return a lot of starters. And this game might be over before half.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those where he's like, I know we're probably not going to win, and no coach will ever tell you that they think that way. But I want to be competitive. Let's be in the game. Let's be strong. I don't know if TCU lets them.
Right. So TCU's quarterback last year, Max Duggan, won the Davey O'Brien Award. He's now, I think, with the Chargers in the NFL.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, but so their number one this year, Chandler Morris, he's on the Maxwell Award list. The dude's a baller. So he didn't play a whole lot, 21, 22, what I did a little research on. But when he did, he actually made a couple of great games. He had a 400-plus yard passing game in 21 against Baylor. The guy can sling it, right?
Yeah. And he's a redshirt junior, so he's been there a while. Obviously knows the systems. He just had the bad luck of having a beast of Jugger coming up in front of him, which, by all means. But, looking at the rest of their guys, they're all juniors and seniors. This team is led by leadership. I feel for you, Colorado. I'm not a fan of you at all, but what a tough draw to have your first game with your new head coach and your new system to show the fans. Oh, man, it could be ugly quick. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if TCU, the first 4 or 5 drives, get points, probably touchdowns, but at least field goals every single drive.
I was surprised when I did my research. TCU is like every other team when it comes to transfers.
Mm-hmm.
They added 20 in this last year and the year prior. So they have over 20 transfer students. One of them, I thought this was huge. Offensive guard Willis Patrick played for Deion at Jackson State. Okay, so Texas native. In my mind, I'm like, what would make you choose TCU over following Coach Prime? You know? And I went, okay, home state, Texas. Chance to play for TCU in his home state of Texas. They went to the national championship game last year. Colorado won one game last year. Yeah. I went, oh, yeah, that's, in my mind as a kid, that's easy, right?
Yeah, and he's a senior, so he's like, I have a chance at least a bowl, or I have a chance at a 500 season following, I'm going to go to the bowl game. I mean, I can't say TCU, if we get to that part of it later on in the year, are they the dog in the Big 12? We'll have to get to that conversation another time, but they definitely have more of a chance at a really good bowl game as opposed to Colorado this year. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What's the line on this game?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I was just getting to that. So it's continually gone up by increments of a half the last 3 days.
Everyone's betting TCU.
It started off 19 and a half. Then it went to 20. Then to 20 and a half. Today, it's at 21.
So everyone's thinking like, well, Vegas is like me. Everybody's putting money on TCU. The only reason the line goes up like that, for those of you that don't know, is people are betting TCU. So their job is to put the line at such a height that somebody's like, oh, I'll take the points and start betting Colorado. Right now, too many people are betting TCU. And they're probably thinking like we are. I don't know if Colorado slows down this offense besides maybe a 10-play drive instead of a 5-play drive. I think that's the only way you slow them down. I think it's going to be points galore for TCU, who their last 5 games, well, okay, take away the Georgia game because we know that was, oh my goodness, extremely ugly.
That was a fluke. In my mind, okay, that was a fluke. When you put up 51 points against Michigan.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, continue your point.
No, I mean, they 31-28 against K-State last year, obviously different quarterback, but 62, another 30 points. This team scored all last year. And, oh, by the way, numerous comebacks. So they know how to get it done. And then Colorado, I get it. It's a whole new different team, but gave up 40-plus points in each of their last 5 games, 42, 49, 55, 54, and 63 to Utah. So, yeah, like I said, it's an uphill battle for Colorado. 11 o'clock on Fox, 21-point spread. Right now, if you're putting me down, give me TCU in the 21 because I see this as a 40-10 game.
Right. Overs are set at 59 and a half.
Oh, right there. See what I said?
And I think that could potentially change again, between now and September 2nd. But, okay. My notes on Colorado, again, he's in the same spot as TCU, but just slightly different because all new staff, almost all new roster. They have over 20 transfer students. Now, will his son's passing game translate to the next level? Because he had over 3,700 yards passing last year, 40 touchdowns, a 70-plus completion percentage. But will that happen in the Pac-12?
Excuse me.
We don't know. And it could. I don't know if it will. But he doesn't have some of the same players that he did at Jackson State. They added two transfers from South Florida, Jimmy Horn Jr. and Xavier Weaver. Weaver had over 700 yards last year. Horn Jr. had a little over 500 yards. And then their third wide receiver is the two-way player, Travis Hunter, that plays cornerback as well as receiver. And he was also a Jackson State guy.
And you're totally 100% correct. This is a Colorado team we say won 1 game last year. But he is pretty much, we already talked about it, in the offseason, how he lost X amount of scholarship paper. I don't remember the number, 60-some, 40-some other players he's bringing in from transfer. Pretty much has a brand new team that a lot of even Colorado fans need to pull out the whole program to figure out who's playing. One of the things, their running back had 189 carries last year, had a 5-yard average, which is really good. He's a sophomore coming in this year. So you're right. I mean, I could be way wrong. Prime could have this team ready, playing on all cylinders. The only thing I don't like or don't see is first year, got all these guys coming in and trying to mesh against a team that's already meshing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, if Deion's son comes in and his skill set transfers and he gets on the page with them wide receivers, TCU could be in for a dogfight, and we could see a 40-30 game as opposed to a 40-10.
And I don't know what he's going to do if he goes balanced, if he
Right.
if he tries to air it out like he did in Jackson State. Colorado brought over a guy from Houston, Alton McCaskill, the fourth. He had over 1,000 yards with the Houston team last year, 18 touchdowns, averaged a little over 5 yards a carry. And if you match that with Deion's son, Shadur, his arm, you're right. This is kind of an unknown. It truly is. You have an all-new staff. You have all new players. They haven't had a bunch of seasons to play together. But TCU has a bunch of new players, add in a new quarterback, all the other stuff. The thing that jumped out to me for Coach Deion, you bring over a guy, Pat Shurmur, former New York Giants head coach, is now serving as quality specialist for the offense. He also brought along with him Gary Harrell, the running backs coach, Kevin Mathis, cornerbacks, Andre Hart, linebackers. Those guys were from Jackson State. And then Dennis Thurman is their defensive quality control guy. Will it get him more wins than one from last year? Will it keep him in the TCU game? We don't know. That's what's fun about this. But I think Deion is kind of the embodiment of this Vince Lombardi quote. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here. And Deion has never thought anything other than he's the winner, he's the best.
Right.
And if he can install that in his kids' brains, just give them all of that confidence, man.
Yeah. Yep. That's, and excuse me. Again, I mean, unfortunately for them, they didn't get, I don't know, somebody more on their level. You know, like maybe an Oregon State or somebody that they could kind of match up with. They got a very, very tough TCU team, 17th ranked in the country. I mean, even Colorado State would have been a great, their third game of the season would have been a great opener for them. Like I said, so Prime could be like, hey, look, you guys can't hang with this team. We can come out surprise them. Let's win this game. And then by the time you got to the TCU game, you're either building on something or, but what a tough draw. And yeah, he's going to have to put all his hype, all the prime time into it. And I'm sure he is. I mean, his son's being the quarterback. None of them wants to lose. They're going to go with a big attitude. And it's who can absorb the punch in the mouth in that first quarter and go.
In the last few years, a lot of the bigger teams have decided to start scheduling more teams, more colleges, more schools that are closer to equals for their first games or for their first few games. And it's a drastic change in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, hey, let's schedule all the power puffs, the powder puffs, the guys we can go over. Nebraska has Minnesota as its first game.
Yep.
Another Big Ten team, another two Big Ten teams that are playing for their first game, Northwestern and Rutgers. And, okay, so another one that jumped out at me that is the first week, what was it, Florida and Utah?
Yeah.
So, okay, so all these schools are trying to get closer to having a better index score for the college football playoffs.
Right.
But to me, I don't know, does TCU get back there again? Scheduling a Colorado? I mean, they could. If they have another season like they did last year, they definitely could.
And I kind of get it, like Utah, Florida. I mean, to me, we talked about yesterday at work, not me and you guys at work, we're talking about the preseason rankings that were out. They don't mean anything. We're all going by what last year did this and who did that. Excuse me. Different quarterbacks are in, blah, 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 right? So Utah being 14th ranked playing Florida. Florida is always a formidable opponent. Your hope is to get a quality win before that team hits its hot spot. So Utah's like, man, if we get Florida the first game, maybe we can get them before they're gelling and we get a good win and Florida goes on to win a bunch of games. And vice versa. Florida goes, oh, we go into Utah. We beat them, a ranked team last year. They go on to succeed really well in the Pac-12. And it's a quality win for us, even though we beat them first game of the season, you know? So, yeah, to me, it's you want to play these guys like Alabama, Texas last year. If Ewers doesn't go down, I'm pretty sure Texas probably would have beat Alabama.
Right.
And for me, that's smart for Texas. Hey, get Alabama early before Saban has all the wrinkles ironed out and they're gelling. So, yeah, if I'm going to schedule a hard team, I'd rather get them early before they're gelling. But on the flip side of that, you lose that game, and now you're playing uphill because now you got to convince the college football people, hey, that was an anomaly. We're going to gel from here. And then you have to pretty much go undefeated, right?
And I pulled up some odds for the Big 12 on who's going to win it. Now, even though TCU didn't win the Big 12 last year.
I know, it's K-State.
I know.
Wow.
Okay, so the odds makers have Texas being the favorite to win the Big 12, followed by Oklahoma Sooners, then Kansas State third, next the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and then TCU.
Okay, can I ask you this? K-State is third on that list. They lost 14 starters, including their starting running back, their starting quarterback, and you're telling me they put them third?
And currently, right now, they're ranked ahead of TCU preseason.
Right. I'm going to go on record right now, before September even hits, before these two guys even play, and saying TCU will finish higher than K-State in the Big 12. I'm not saying win the Big 12. TCU will finish with a better record. I mean, looked at their games. TCU would be better than K-State this year. Sorry, K-State, nothing against you. I just think TCU reloaded a lot easier than they did. But that surprises me. The Texas Tech, they should always be there. They're an offensive juggernaut. We'll see if they actually play defense. But the Texas-Oklahoma makes sense, right? This is their last year. So who pushes more to win? Texas is unbelievably loaded. They look like they're getting ready to play SEC teams next year. But yeah, I definitely would think Texas-Oklahoma want to go out on a big note and see how they pump up them players to be ready for it.
I believe the reason Kansas State is 16 and ranked ahead of TCU is the play of one guy specifically, Will Howard. And Will Howard, the times that he played ahead of the former Nebraska guy last year, I thought he looked 10 times better. And maybe not 10 times. No. He looked better.
He looked very comfortable in the pocket, for sure.
He looked crisp. He was comfortable in the pocket. He didn't turn the ball over very much. He looked really good. And that's my thoughts on why they are sitting a little bit ahead because of what Kansas State has in their quarterback. But beyond that, I don't know. Okay. We looked at the TCU Colorado game because Colorado is next for Nebraska after this Thursday's game against Minnesota. I don't personally see Colorado coming out of here with a win. I don't see Colorado coming out of here with more than 2 touchdowns.
Right. If
they do, that's great. I would be shocked completely. But I just think TCU manhandles them.
Yeah, I'm putting that 40-10, 40-13, maybe a field goal late or so. But, I see TCU at least getting 40 points. I mean, I don't even know if they punt the game without a personal foul holding on a third down play right now.
One last thing about Colorado. What is your take on Dion coming into the media after they had a little scrum fight, whatever you want to call it, in their practice, and then he takes the side of the guys that fought and chides the guys that didn't fight because we're a team, we should do everything together. What are your thoughts on that?
I disagree, I guess you could say. I mean,
I'm right there with you. I thought it was a little odd.
Yeah, because the problem is, and I totally, don't get me wrong, I 100% know what he's saying. You got to stick up for your thing. Like when you see in the NFL in the preseason, I don't want to try to get on a side tangent here, but in the preseason, you'll see it, but it's mostly the old linemen are fighting the D linemen. The defensive backs aren't coming in. The running backs aren't going in there. They're playing the peacemaker and set runner, but you have O-line, D-line. Those guys stick up for each other, and they're going to push and shove. Same thing if you have a DB get into it with the wide receiver. The wide receivers are going to come in there. The other DBs, they're going to get in it. The linemen play police and try to break it up. Same thing with this, especially in college. The last thing you want your guys to have in their mind, if Mike and John get in a fight with somebody on the other side because he shoved him the wrong way or grabbed his face mask, now I have 7 guys fighting that are now kicked out of the game. To me, it's like, no, I get what you mean by fighting, but dude, you don't want these kids to think, oh, hey, they're in a scrum. Let's all run over there and scrum it up with them, because now half you guys are going to get kicked out. Because by the way, it's college football. They go to the review, and whoever's in there, 27, 34, 58, you guys are out of here. And now what does Prime do? I'm so glad my guys fought.
Here's my 2 thoughts on that. Now, this is a complete guess. My first thought is he took a page out of the Cowboys owner when there's certain things that happen and he doesn't want the media to focus on the certain things that happen. He comes out and he plays, I'll say, the dumb bunny.
Right.
Sits out there and says some of the stupidest things ever. So then the media focuses on that for the next 2 weeks rather than over here. So it's a little sleight of hand. So and I'm asking, I'm not saying he did this.
Right.
So did Deion do that to not have the media focus on player A, player B, player C got into a fight, and they focused on that? No, they focused this entire last week on Deion saying, my guys need to stick together. I didn't hear, and maybe they did, I didn't personally hear any mention of any singular players that were in that fight. It was all about the Deion stuff.
True.
Okay,
True.
now that's my one point. The second point, would Deion's tone have changed if any of those players had gotten hurt in that fight? Or would he have done something similar? We don't know.
I don't. I think he would have done something similar. I don't think it would have. Now, I guess if it was season ending, but if it was like a broken hand or something, it'd be like, hey, these guys, I want fighters. I want winners. Like you said, and I agree. I could see him totally here, let the media talk about me and what I'm saying, and less about inquiring what or started it or who and all that other thing or what discipline we're going to give them. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. He definitely could have been playing supposedly that's what Sean Payton's doing in Denver, right? And I know I keep getting sidetracked there, but there's other coaches that are doing it just like you're saying, like with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. I need to change the media focus off my team. So, yeah, Deion, and he was a pro. He knows how it works. He knows how the media works. Let them do a war of words with him and let his players get through the practices and get ready for the first week.
Yeah, first week. The first week for Nebraska, we have Minnesota. And Vince Lombardi, practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. So who had the perfect practice, do you think? Minnesota or University of Nebraska's all-new staff?
This week?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Minnesota, mainly because they're not new. Their coaching staff is the same old. They got everybody going. They know the routine up there. They know the playbook, obviously. They've been running it for a while. To me, yeah, it's a plug and play right now for them. They lost their quarterback. They're going to have a redshirt sophomore come in who played well. He's not a great, in my opinion, again, just me. He's not a great thrower. They lost their running back, so they're going to have a new halfback come in. He's a senior, Sean Tyler. I would say Minnesota would definitely be having the better practices as you flip to the Big Red side, and obviously a whole new staff. Everybody, that's been hit on 100 times. So we're still learning the playbook. You're still learning which plays are the go-to, right? So Minnesota probably has their 15 plays. Like, okay, on this down, this situation, these 2 or 3 plays what we're going to look at. So the quarterback knows, okay, he's going to call one of these 3. Flip it over to Nebraska. I'm still, not only am I learning the playbook, now I got to find 2 or 3 plays on different downs and yardage situations that, man, I'm really comfortable on this, Matt. I love this right here. I love the way this sets up. I feel really comfortable with these 3 or 4 plays if we want to run it on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 7, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, they're playing catch up to the entire Big Ten when you reset a staff.
So when I started looking at all this, I was amazed, actually. A few days ago, the line was 7. It's now gone up to 7.5 in favor of Minnesota. The overs are set at 44.5, so they do think, but that either both sides are going to score at least 20-some,
Right.
or one's going to score 30. Minnesota has had some turnover. So one of their defensive backs, Michael Dixon, transferred to Rutgers. Two of their defensive backs, Jordan Howden and Terrell Smith, are now in the NFL. So the Minnesota secondary that held the best FBS kind of stat line with only 8 passing touchdowns allowed last year. Can they do that with a bunch of new guys? With PJ Fleck at the helm, I think it's possible.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about a swing and a miss by Nebraska. Had a chance at him and didn't get him, but I like him. There's a lot of people that aren't liking him, and I know there's some rift in the Minnesota thing that apparently him and some of the players aren't on the same page or get along. I don't care. I think he's a great coach. He's a real good player coach. He reminds me a lot of Pete Carroll. Happy all the time, in with the players, high-fiving them, giving them slaps on the butt, always motivating, always keeping them in the positive side of the thing. They were down. We had them shut out at halftime last year, looking like we were finally going to get a hold of this, beat this team. And they come out in the second half and flip the script on us, right? He kept them guys in the locker room and it's like, hey, we got this. And they came out and did it, right? So, yeah. But again, my thing is it's still the same team, same staff, same coaching area, players that are there, and these other guys are going to come right in, I would imagine, okay, I'm following these steps, everything's there. So, yeah, every team's going to have turnover, especially in college, but I mean, they haven't beat us, 5 in a row for nothing.
Okay, so I had some time to do my research. I've said it before. I'll say it now, and I'll probably say it again. I wish every single college team on their sports page had pronouncers for the kids, because I'm going to play the pronouncer for the Minnesota quarterback right now, and it's the kid actually saying his name for him.
Ethan Kaliakmanis, quarterback.
Kaliakmanis. Okay, so if you see his name, Kaliakmanis, yeah. If you hear the kid, Kaliakmanis, it's easy. But if you look at it and be like, Kaliakmanis, you don't know.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, my side tangent. But
yeah, and I'm totally trying to put the I in there with the IA, but it's not even there. It's pretty much ALA.
Yeah, here it is again.
Ethan Kaliakmanis, quarterback, Antioch, Illinois.
The announcers are just going to call him Ethan.
I love that teams do that. Oh, it is so awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so Ethan started 5 games last year for the injured Tanner Morgan. He has a new wide receiver transfer, Corey Crooms. Crooms put up over 800 yards for Western Michigan. They added another Western Michigan player in Sean Tyler. Tyler's last 2 seasons averaged over 1,000 yards rushing and a 2-year combined average of 5.7 yards per carry.
That's deep.
So if Nebraska's defense shows up, I hope they can stop this kid.
And looking at our defense, that's one of the things I'm really excited about watching, is Ethan is 6'4", 210. He is not going to be easy to bring down. He's a healthy kid. So when you get back there, you're not going to be able to just push him or shove him down. You're going to have to wrap him up, or he's going to do the Ben Roethlisberger, stroll on out, sidestep a few things, and actually there's a 30-yard pass.
Their whole offense is healthy. They have no guy under 300 pounds. Nathan Bowe, their center's 300 pounds, 6'5". Left guard, Tyler Cooper, 6'5", 310. Right guard, Carol Quinn, 6'6", 310. Right tackle, Lewis Martis, 6'7", 330. And then another guy that I had to bring up, their pronouncer.
Ariante Ursery.
What?
Yeah, hold on.
Do it again.
All right.
Ariante Ursery.
One more time.
Oh, my goodness.
Ariante Ursery.
Okay, Ariante Ursery, 6'2", 320. And he's a returning left tackle. All those guys that are returning helped Mohamed Ibrahim have a huge season, okay? And 1,600-yard rushing season.
Yeah, they have beat us in the trenches here, obviously 5 straight games, obviously, and 6 out of the last 7. But, yeah, the Fleck has really owned it in the Big Ten. Like, you know what? This is a power, obviously Power 5 school, but this is a power conference where you have to run the ball, especially late in the season when it gets cold, harder to throw it. I need my quarterback to be efficient, but I need my dogs up front to get me that 4 or 5, 6-yard carry, especially in the fourth quarter, right? So flip to Nebraska, running the 3-3-5. You only got 3 down linemen, probably rotate 3 other ones, so you got 6 that are going to rotate in and out. But you have all these linebackers that are going to be trying to shoot in past these big 300-pound guys. So who wears down? Because our speed get them tired where they're chasing us, or them blocking us play after play after play gets our guys worn down, and who's ready in the fourth quarter.
All right, I'll say my stat again that I found huge. Western Michigan player Sean Tyler transferred in the last 2 years, averaged 5.7 yards a carry on Western Michigan's team.
Right.
I doubt that he had an offensive line that averaged 315 pounds.
Well, he probably wasn't playing Big Ten foes, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're playing Big Ten foes, and you have these huge dudes ahead of you making huge holes. You have a 6'7" tight end, brave and span forward, and you better watch out for this guy. He's made the Big Ten watch list for outstanding players. Had a 11-yard per reception average last year. So all this adds up to this is going to be a great game.
And Tyler's not a big guy, 5'8". And he's only 185 pounds, decent. But, you know, can he take a pounding in the Big Ten? I mean, obviously Nebraska's not going to have the front. But, I mean, when you look at Minnesota going against the Wisconsins, Illinois, Iowas, they're going to have a front four that is really going to grab you. And, yeah, to me, if Nebraska can get their hands on the guy and bring him down quickly, get him frustrated. First season with Minnesota, especially if he's not used to getting hit in the backfield, man, but we can maybe demoralize him early because he might not be drinking the Kool-Aid as much yet. And say 5'8", 185, not a big guy, but they still have Darius Taylor there and Jordan Newman, bigger guys, but still they're going to come out with 2 or 3 different running backs, Tyler being the starter right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if Flick pulls the reins on him if he's not producing.
Right. Now the other side, Nebraska. We have a ton of transfers. We have a new transfer quarterback, Jeff Sims, came in from Georgia Tech. He's also on the Davey O'Brien watch list. Notable winners. Now, we mentioned Max Dugan from TCU last year. Tennessee great Peyton Manning and Huskers' own Eric Crouch. Now, this Davey O'Brien watch list is about 35, 40 players, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly how many. But
and it'll change throughout the season.
It will.
Right.
But to start the season, to have that much confidence in a kid to put him on it, I think that's huge. We are down a great wide receiver in Xavier Betts.
Yeah.
Now, that could open up the door for potential playing time for Lincoln native Malachi Coleman, who actually Deion Sanders tried to recruit heavily.
Right, yep.
And Coleman flip-flop back and forth. I don't blame the kid. Talk about an uneasy time. You have Scott Frost commits. Scott Frost goes bye-bye. You have another guy come in, Mickey Joseph. Unfortunate things happen. He goes bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Malachi Coleman's want to stay here, goes bye-bye.
Right.
Bring in Matt Rule. Well, Matt Rule didn't talk to me. I can't imagine how stressful and fast-paced Matt Rule's life was for those first few weeks.
Goodness.
But once he reached out to Malachi Coleman, him and his staff must have just the velvet touch with these kids, because within talking to him and his family, Malachi Coleman was back in 100%.
Right. Yep.
100%. So that being said, Xavier Betts gone. That could open up the door for a lot of other younger players, including Malachi Coleman, and I hope he just shows out. Another transfer, Billy Kemp IV, a 5'9" guy from Virginia, a great slot guy. He had over 700 yards.
Yeah. And I think this offense is going to be better than what we have seen in the past. And again, I know we talked about the Colorado thing earlier, and this comes right back to kind of the same thing. It's a brand new staff, a lot of flipping the roster, a lot of guys left because they can, bringing in a lot of different guys. And again, Matt Rule and them have to show these guys, hey, this will work if you buy in. Same thing, Deion telling those guys, hey, yeah, we got to mesh quickly because we're all new playbooks, all that. So, but looking at what Nebraska has on paper, it does suck Xavier Betts. I hope he gets the help he needs and everything can come back strong next year. Get everything going for him. The O-line, from what I read, is playing super good. We got some experience on there. We got several juniors. We got a redshirt sophomore and not even going to try to say his name, left tackle. Other than that, I mean, I think they're going to be strong. I mean, this has got to be the O-line is where we're going to win our money. Sims is going to make moves. He's very versatile, very agile. Running Georgia Tech, it was, if you guys know anything about Georgia Tech, it's pretty much triple option all day. And then the other surprise is Gabe Irvin got the nod as a starter over Anthony Grant because apparently fumbled quite a bit in, the practices. So good on Matt Rule to realize that protecting the ball is worth it over a yard or two more average, whatever you want to go with. I love Gabe Irvin. I think he's going to be great. The stable running backs we have, and, Vermeer Johnson also is going to be right there in the third down back, I'm sure. So offensively, it obviously comes down to the O-line, and if they just play average, Nebraska's putting up 30 points this weekend.
Right.
Or, sorry, next week.
Yeah, so you mentioned some offensive line guys, 2 offensive line transfers, one from Arizona State, 6'5", 305, and another kid from Colorado State. My guess on his name is Norden Noli. I don't know if that's correct. 6'4", 315. The last, 5 to 7 years, it's been kind of a shambles up front.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks running for their lives. If it wasn't up to the amazing play of the running backs, I don't know how any of those kids got
any yards.
The amount of yards that they did, because it was all their own. I shouldn't say all their own doing, but a lot of time has been put into our offensive line.
Yes, and need be. I mean, I guess when you look at the film, like you're saying, and not only getting beat on a block, because that happened, but it was numerous times where the D-line ran a stunt or just a basic blitz, and our guys never saw it coming, didn't call it out, didn't pick it up correctly, didn't slide the coverage over or the blocking scheme over. It was just easy stuff that you're like watching on TV, and you're like, dude, how do you let that guy go right by you? Did you think there was someone there, blah, blah, blah. So just them being in the right place, playing in their right area and see what's coming or know what could be coming is going to be huge for, Nebraska fans when they're watching, like, oh my goodness, that blitz didn't get right through like it has the last few years. So yeah, knowing the plays, knowing the reads is going to be huge for this Nebraska O-line.
So earlier for Minnesota, I'd mentioned the 2 transfers from Central Michigan, Crooms and Tyler, their running back. And looking at their last year's schedule, Crooms had a few 100 games. He had a 150-yard game. And Tyler had a few 100-yard games. He had a 177-yard game. Now, he didn't have a whole lot of yards against Michigan State, but he still averaged 5 yards a carry on 13 carries.
Jeez.
So the move from Central Michigan to a Minnesota with, I'm guessing, a better line, and PJ Fleck, great coach. Matt Rule, great coach. This hurts me to say this. I think Minnesota edges us in this first game because it's the first game.
Yeah, and I totally agree.
I don't want that to happen.
Right. I mean, you go to our last 5 games, 15-14, of course, 1-score loss. 2013, 1-score loss to Minnesota, by the way. We had them 13-0 at halftime. 26-9 loss to Illinois. Only one bright spot was winning Iowa in the last game of the season, that 24-17. So, and Minnesota won 4 of their last 5, including one against us. As much as I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, and again, it's just like Colorado. I have no idea because you have a whole new regime coming in, new quarterbacks. I mean, that's the other thing. We don't have Casey Thompson, who we know what we got there. We got a brand new quarterback in Sims, who looks great. I mean, red and white look great. Different scrimmages look great. You watch the highlights, blah, blah, blah. It looks great. What's going to happen when it actually counts, right? It's on the road. It's going to be tough. As much as I drink in the Kool-Aid, a 24-20, a 20-13. I'm really hoping we put up more than 13 points. We got to get to that 20, 24 point range to have the fans go, okay, hey, like you said, first game of the season, tough road game at Minnesota, very formidable team. Yeah, but let's not go up there and score 12 or 13 points, punt 7 times. Go up there, put some drives together, a couple in a row even. Let's get 24 points.
So here's my take, and it's easy when you don't have to use your actual money. You just say it out loud, and you don't actually put the bets down. For me, going back to the TCU-Colorado game, TCU wins, Colorado beats the spread because it keeps going up.
Right.
Because it's now 21. I think they lose by like 20. I think 20 earlier, 19.5, 20 earlier in the week was probably really close. And then I would take the overs all day long, even though they're huge. I think it's going to be TCU just all day long, putting up points. Now, for the Minnesota-Nebraska game, I'm taking Minnesota. I think they win by like 3. Nebraska, so that would make Nebraska beat the spread, and I would take the unders on this.
Oh, the under 44? You don't think they both score 20?
Yeah, I think it's a low-scoring game.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I think it's a low-scoring game.
I think it's right on. I think it's a 24-20 game. Maybe in 24-23, somebody gets a field goal late. Or 21-23 game, somebody kicks a field goal to win it 24-23. I think the 44 is really close. I do think it's going to be less than the 7.5. If I'm opposite of you, I guess. I say TCU clears the 21. I don't know what it's going to go up to, but as of now, they'll clear the 21. Nebraska will keep it less than 7. And then after this week, I can really get a feel for Nebraska the rest of the season with that 3-3-5 defense. That's going to be the main thing. We talk about the O-line, but you're also bringing in a brand new offensive scheme, brand new, obviously, defensive scheme, defensive coordinator. It's not just, hey, we running a different style of the 3-3-4 or we're running a different style of the 4-3. We're totally bringing in a brand new scheme altogether. These kids aren't just learning a new defensive scheme. They're learning new positions. They're bringing in new things. So a lot of people playing a different position than they played last year even. So I think the 3-3-5 is what a lot of fans, including myself, is really excited to see. If, do we get after the quarterback? Can we make it to the edges? We've been beat so many times in the Big Ten with wide receiver screens, halfback swing passes. Can we finally stop those, forcing a team to hold the ball a little bit longer to give the D-line a chance?
My take on the unders for the Minnesota-Nebraska game was looking at the Nebraska-Minnesota game last year. They held us to 13 points. I know it's a completely different team, but they scored 20. And then if you look at the loss Minnesota had to Iowa, that was the 13-10 game. And then the Wisconsin win Minnesota had, that was 23-16.
Yep.
It was all close.
Yeah.
And I feel that Matt Rule's team is focused more on defense than Nebraska has focused on for a while. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and that's, for me, what keeps it in the unders category.
Okay.
I could be wrong because this is the first game of the season, and we could have a couple of defensive scores, and just like, oh, wow, it's now a 40-35 game.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. And that's one thing when you put that imaginary money down, that's what you can never really count on, right? A defensive score. So, yeah, offensively, if it does stay low, I love Nebraska's chances then. I will take Nebraska. If the score stays below 20s, I take Nebraska winning this game. If it gets into the 20s is where I start to worry and them wearing us down, especially with that run game. If, this back comes in to Tyler and those big guys up front start getting their way on our 3-3-5, But
I
if
really want to see what this kid can do with on a Minnesota team.
Yeah, like I say, kind of like you get a chance to go, like the guy that transferred from Jackson State to TCU. I'm going to a Power 5 team with legitimate chances. He went from Central Michigan, like I'm going to go to Minnesota, Big Ten. Maybe we can win the West.
Right.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
That's why I brought up Mohamed Ibrahim. Mohamed Ibrahim had over 1,600 yards, and I totally think that Tyler could do that with that line and his agility to average over 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
No matter what division you're in or what conference you're in, that's huge.
Yeah.
So other teams that are playing this first week, this week we have Notre Dame Navy. That's an NBC Saturday game at 1:30. That should be a fun game. Notre Dame should just roll them over.
Right.
Roll over them.
Yeah, and so I mean, I cut you off here. It says, this is supposedly week 0, right? But there's games on Saturday, 2 of them. USC plays, Notre Dame Navy plays Saturday, and then you flip to Thursday when Nebraska plays August 31st, supposedly week 0, and there's a few games there. So what are we doing with this week 0, 0.5, 0.9 to week 1? We have all these games all of a sudden. Let's just, if we're going to start the season early, just start the season early. I just don't get it.
No, I hear you. San Jose State goes on the road. USC, that's another Saturday, August 26th game. USC is going to come to the Big Ten, leaving the dying Pac-12. It is the Pac-12 resurrect with some other additions. And next week, August 31st, yes, Nebraska, Minnesota, Fox, 7 p.m. night game.
One game is intriguing. This Saturday game, Notre Dame Navy. I think this is a classic thing of getting a team early. Navy has a real good chance. Notre Dame coming in has a little bit of turnover there also. They get them before they might be gelling. Granted, that's on the road at Notre Dame. I'm not going to say Notre Dame's not going to win, but they're favored by 20 points, 20.5, over understood at 50. I mean, Navy plays these guys tough. Notre Dame is, not necessarily on the academies because they've got a few wins here and there. But, man, I'm not going to be too surprised if Navy comes in and really puts Notre Dame on the ropes and Notre Dame has to squeak out a win, be a huge victory for the Navy. Again, this is back to where I was saying catching the team early before they gel. This is one of those really good ones, I think. And USC with San Jose State, UCLA should run away with this if they want. It's a 31-point game. If they really take control of that game early and run it out, the gym, number 6 in the country, yeah, you'll get to keep that spot.
Other notable games in my mind, Florida International, Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is going to be a Husker opponent coming up soon. The La Tech Florida International game is also Saturday, August 26th. And another opponent coming up for Nebraska is Northern Illinois. They play on Saturday, September the 2nd against Boston College. So we're gonna have some fun games. It's a great time. Yeah, it's hot as Hades right now.
Ooh.
No matter where you're playing. Hopefully we don't have 110-degree heat for some of these kids playing starting the 26th, but you never know. Any other final thoughts, James, on any of these games?
No, I'm really excited. Obviously, I keep thinking that it's this week, and it is this Saturday. I mean, obviously, we get a few games this Saturday. The Notre Dame is going to be on NBC like usual. I don't see a game for the USC in that Pac-12. It's a 7:00 game. As right now, it's not showing who's going to be playing it, so it might not even be on TV, unfortunately. Hopefully, they get it somewhere, though. And then, yeah, starting Thursday, next Thursday, the 31st, all these games on. I'm looking forward to all of them, mainly because, it'll start football season. The NFL will be wrapping up their preseason, and you can gel right into college football, games that count, every game that matters. And let's see. Again, a lot of new coaches, not new places. Wisconsin with a new crew going up there. Let's see where they go, see how they look in week 1. I think they have a pretty decent opponent, but not great. They got Buffalo at home. So they'll play September 2nd. It's a 2:30 game. So on Fox Sports. They're ranked 19th. Kind of surprising me with a new staff and all that, new quarterback. They're going to go to more of a passing game, supposedly. They're not going to be the traditional, 2 tight end set, run it, 17 of 20 plays. So kind of surprises me they're 19th, but obviously the rankings don't matter. So let's see. Wisconsin, Buffalo, all of them. Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
The air raid system is getting put into Wisconsin. Phil Longo landed the offensive coordinator job, and he kind of worked with the late Mike Leach a while back, and that's the impetus of what started the air raid across almost now every single conference.
Right.
And it is a huge departure from Wisconsin football.
Huge change, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
To go from run heavy to this.
Yep.
So on the days that it's 12 degrees, frozen ground, and the ball feels like an ice cube that you're trying to catch, we'll see how that works out. And I was shocked, too, to see them a team make that switch. But beyond, go ahead.
Yeah, so me and the wife went and saw the Nebraska movie Day by Day.
Yeah.
And I remember back, obviously the 90s, so I was in my prime. When Osborne kept losing Oklahoma, 6 straight, and coming up on the 92, 93 season, it was he needs to get the passing game. Tom's too old. He's got to get away from this option. They got to get more of an air raid. We need a passing quarterback, blah, blah, blah. And Tom refused to change, right? He's like, no, this is our offense. This is going to work. And sure enough, 93 on the fence with Florida State. They just lose it. Going into the 94 season, a little more attitude, a little more players holding each other responsible or accountable. And we keep the option. And what happens at the end of that Miami game, we go with that fullback dive, giving them the quick hitters. And Miami was just gassed. Couldn't do anything about it. But it was the option. Tommy Frazier coming in, Brick Behringer going out, Tommy Frazier coming in, pretty much running the option down the field and winning that game. And again, against Florida also. To me, if you have an identity, keep it. But obviously, new staff up there in Minnesota. This isn't like the staff is automatically changing. So when people do that, like, hey, we got to change with the times. Now, if you have the personnel, Georgia Tech's been running that triple option forever. The academies run the triple option, and by the way, put up 20, 30, 40 points. And they keep the defense off the field. So I don't believe in the whole, I do see it. I'm not disagreeing with you as far as the air attack going in college football. It's like the NFL now.
Yeah, I just stated it. I'm not saying one is better because I'm agreeing with you.
If you keep that defensive rested, especially in college, you can run the ball, way less chance of turning it over, and you keep your defense fresh, right?
Back when Bob Stoops was head coach of Oklahoma, Mike Leach got his start as an offensive coordinator there, and he didn't stay long. In my mind, I don't know exactly what happened, but in my mind, Mike Leach probably yelled at Bob Stoops, you need to run, you need to get away from the run and air raid more.
Yeah.
And Stoops liked it balanced. He enjoyed what Mike Leach's air raid brought, but he also understood what you had mentioned, clock management.
Yeah.
If my offense is on the field eating clock, your team can't score.
No.
I bring that up because I would watch Mike Leach coached teams late at night. I would get off working second shift, and his West Coast teams would play late games. I don't know how many times I watched his team lose a 14-point lead or more because of interceptions, turnover on downs because it went 3 and out, because all you do is pass, stop the clock, pass, stop the clock, pass, interception. Oh, they just ran it back for a touchdown. Now the lead went to 7. Well, that's okay. I'll pass and get it back. No, you pass and go 3 out. He did win a lot of games as well, Mike Leach, great coach. But it frustrated me. I'm rooting for you, Mike, when you were coaching and you had a 14-point lead and you just were so stubborn you wouldn't run out the clock.
Yeah, and when they try to run the ball, it didn't go nowhere because the O-line were like, dude, we're really good at pass blocking, but we're not so great at run blocking because we don't do it enough in practice, right? So, yeah, if you don't have, like Oklahoma, Stoops are smart. My guys got to be able to be balanced. If we get to a 17, 18-point lead going in the fourth quarter, we're going to run the ball on a 3-to-1 ratio, right? My O-line has to be ready to run the ball. My guys have to be ready to run the ball. So we can, eat up clock. But, they're not the only ones. Oregon's another one that comes to mind back in the Scott Frost days when they were air raiding and they'd make the playoffs or be in the bowl game, 10, 14, 18-point lead, and you're like, oh, they just need to run the ball, and they're throwing it 3 and out, 3 and out. Next thing you know, the team's coming back, and now they got a battle in their hands because they were unable to run. 2 first downs would be like 3 to 4 minutes off the clock, and you just can't get 2 first downs and punt the ball.
So my final thoughts on Big Ten football. To me, I think Michigan wins the Big Ten.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be between them and Ohio State.
I feel you.
Okay. For whatever reason, I just think Michigan does it again. And then Ohio State, they're in the East. I think they blow out everybody other than Ohio State and Penn State. Those two keep it close. Ohio State might win one of their matchups because you have to play. And then if you get to the Big Ten tournament and then you have to play them again, I think they split. Now on the West side, I think Wisconsin goes 9-3.
Oh, okay.
Iowa probably also goes 9-3, and Minnesota's right there with them, maybe 9-3, 8-4. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm so up in the air. Especially, I have some reason. I have no idea why I can't give you any specifics. I think Penn State. I like them a lot this year. Ohio State, new quarterback. I know they're trying to get their thing going there. Michigan, obviously, were in the playoffs last year. I can't go against Michigan, but I really like Penn State. But I will agree with you. I think Michigan wins the East and the Big Ten overall. But I have Penn State beating Ohio State for second. And
that could easily happen.
Yeah. In the West, to me, beyond wide open. Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, and don't sleep on Purdue. I think any one of those teams take control or win it. I can't say take control. It's going to be 1 or 2 games between all of them. We might even have it where 3 or 4 teams are going to have the same record, and the head-to-head is going to be like a round-robin nightmare for the committee.
Right.
I don't have a team in the West that I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, they're really good. I'm not going to pick. I just give you those teams. Unfortunately, Northwestern, sorry, you're out of it. Nebraska, you're going to be looking up to most of those guys, but the other ones, I got nothing until maybe week 2 or 3. Can I get back with you?
And you're 100% correct. It could be a 4-way.
Yeah.
Illinois could just as easily be 9-3 or 10-2.
Yeah.
They continually improve with Brent Bielema.
Oh my, he's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, or do you have any today in sports?
I don't have no today in sports. We get week 3 in preseason coming up for the NFL. For you Jets fans, it looks like Rodgers is going to play one. First time since I think 2018 was his last preseason game. Smartly, if you're a Jets fan, you need to see him out with that offense. It's all a brand new team. Unfortunately, lots of ACL tears. Dallas got 2 this past week. I want to say there's 7 now since the preseason started. I'm not counting mini camps. I'm just talking just the preseason games. I think we're up to 7 ACLs throughout different players, which is nuts. I figured today's medicine, today's stretching, today what we know, I don't know, they would be stronger or stretched out. But I don't know. I don't understand that. It just seems like we have more now than what we had 5 years ago. But I don't have all the stats. I don't have the ESPN computer that does all that. A lot of intrigue with the Bears and Fields. Nothing against you Bear fans. I wish you the best. I really do. I'm not understanding all the hypes. I watched Justin Fields play last year. Granted, he didn't have great wide receivers, but I didn't see a lot of great quarterback play either. But I'm excited. I mean, again, this season's up in the air. A lot of these games, it's weird. You hear me talk how some teams just aren't going to play their starters. And then you flip it, and Trevor Lawrence has played. Mahomes has played both preseason games, which shocked me. Kelsey in both preseason games. So good on them. Get the experience. Dallas on the flip side. they have like 18 guys that have not played preseason game. I'll say it. Those guys that don't play come week one, that first 2 or 3 drives, you're rusty as hell and you look like it because, oh, by the way, you didn't play in preseason. So I'm not a fan of not playing preseason games. You got to play 2 or 3 drives. Everyone. But yeah, a lot of games coming up. Again, this will be the end for the preseason. Saturday, August 26th, there's a bunch of games. Only 1 game on Sunday and nothing on Monday. And then it'll be getting ready for week 1, but then you get your college football to kind of fill that gap in till week 1.
My final thoughts deal with another sport and another guy who has a tough time sticking with one team, James Harden. James Harden said some interesting stuff about the Philadelphia 76ers general manager, and it made the media rounds where he called Darrell Morey a liar. He also suggested he would not fulfill his contract if he has to stay in the organization, and recently he was fined $100,000. Now the NBA Players Union has stepped in and are trying to challenge the fine through arbitration, and this story is only going to get bigger and blow up, and James Harden might do I'm just going to get fat and lazy again, which then brings the level of his play down in my mind. What is it? Houston, Nets, 76ers.
Right.
Where do you go next?
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to go
right.
back, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
If you want to go all the way back, Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook, with
Kevin Durant,
with Serge Ibaka,
yes,
with all these great players, right? Then he went to the Brooklyn Nets.
Houston.
My bad.
Yeah.
He went to Houston, and he was the great player there.
Oh, my goodness. Right. Unstoppable. Couldn't, till playoffs. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. Until playoffs, but he was still kind of unstoppable. Even in the losing games, he would score 40, but he was kind of the only player, and that's the way he wanted it. He wanted to be the only player.
Back.
Then goes to Brooklyn Nets, couldn't gel with all those guys again. And now goes to 76ers, couldn't gel with those guys again. When Embiid was out, he was shooting 40 points again, and life was good. Now that he has to play with him again, he can't play with him again. That's my take. This is getting ugly. This is going to get uglier. Who knows what happens?
All right, my 2 things. One, I totally agree with the players union fighting for this, only because if he can go out and say, hey, the owner guy, or whatever his name was, said blah, 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 and then turn around and did blah, 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 that does make him a liar. So if Harden be like, I didn't just blaspheme or degrade him, he did lie to me. He said he was going to do this, and he did that. Please stick up for me and say, hey, and that's great. I'm fine. It's what the union is supposed to do, right? But on the flip side, when you just went through everything you just said, and I totally could see Harden, he said, I'm not going to do my contract, blah, 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 sit out.
But they didn't fine him for calling him a liar. They are fining him for stating he will not fulfill his contract.
I thought he was being fined for calling so-and-so a liar.
No. And that's the only reason I interrupted you. I apologize for interrupting you. But
I misread that.
The main reason he's getting fined is he alluded to the fact that I'm not going to play for the organization. I'm not going to fulfill my contract.
Okay, yeah, so it brings my second point. 76ers, the team, Embiid and all them, was it the guard that we like a lot? Macy? Oh, what's his name? Maxey.
Oh, Tyrese Maxey. I was just I'm not sure where you're going with
my
that.
My bad. All them guys, they lose out, right? Because now you have a player that even if he makes himself have to play, what is he going to ride the bench? Be that cancer, I hate using that word, in the locker room where, you know what, everybody's going to know they can't trade him. They can't get rid of him. They tried. It's not working. Now they're stuck with him. You can't just cut him. So anyway, the team loses out. And oh, by the way, now the fans loses out because if they could have moved on or worked it out or at least somewhat been happy with each other, that's 20 more wins, 15 to 20 more wins. And now you have 15 to 20, 50-50 games with an unhappy player. And by the way, now, the locker room's not going to be good. Look at having a Golden State, right? That thing happened early in the preseason between Poole and Green, carried all the way through the season. On the road games, they were abysmal because of the divide in the team. What is that going to do to 76? I'm as a Celtics fan, great. Please go 500 and let Boston move on up. I'm with that, because one of those big obstacles in the East is Philly, right? Philly and Milwaukee, right? So if they can have turmoil, the same thing with the Lakers. I love it. But no, I feel for, just as a sports fan, for 76er players and their fans, this is horrible. And as an owner, bite your thing. Do I want wins, or do I want to have my ego win? Do I want my team to win, or do my ego win? I need my team to win. So bite the bullet, trade them, get crap or whatever you have to, get them off your team, and let the other guys know in that locker room that, you know what, we understand you had to do that, and thank you, so we can move on.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what team is out there that James Harden could gel with if he's not the number one focus. In my mind, that's what this whole argument is about. I'm not the number one focus. I need to be the number one focus. I'm not the top scorer. I'm not your all-time star. I can't take second seat to anybody.
Yeah, let's go back, like you said, beginning. He was in Oklahoma City with great talent, and they won a lot of games. They obviously couldn't get past like Golden State and blah, blah, blah. But he played happy, played energetic. Him, Westbrook, they were there, right?
Oh, they were so close.
Yep. Then he goes to Houston, not a lot of talent around him, and he goes off. And he is living in the basket of MVP talk, points. Oh, my gosh, Harden's unstoppable. Everybody loves him, the beard. Oh, I'm going to go to Brooklyn with Durant and Kyrie, and we're going to own this. Oh, wait a minute. Why am I not getting 40 shots a game? How come the ball's not going through me? And then it starts to the egos like, wait, I'm not in the press every day. I'm not making all the highlights. And next thing you know, okay, well, yeah, this isn't where I need out of here. I'm getting fat and happy, and I'm never going to get back in shape. Now I go back to Philly. Oh, yeah, me and Embiid, we're going to be great. We're going to make this work. And some games it looks like. In other games, it's I need to be the focus. And whatever reason, whatever happened in Houston, he basked in that glory, loved it. And I think he wants it back. And until he gets in shape, honestly, he's never going to get back there. He's got to get in shape. He's not younger, he's older.
The coach in Houston made him look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the players around Harden that allowed Harden to be the centerpiece. Every move since Houston, he had to share the spotlight, and that is the toughest thing for Harden to do. So, that was our final thoughts. Again, Huskers and Minnesota game is on Thursday the 31st. We have the volleyball day the day
Wednesday.
Before that. That's huge. Anything else that we need to hit on, James?
No, that's one thing I wanted to make sure we brought up was that Wednesday, the day before, that 30th, volleyball day, 90,000 plus. Get it on TV if you can. It's going to be on 107.3. They do all the games, by the way, in Lincoln. So 107.3, every volleyball game is going to be on there. You got to somehow get it, record it, watch it later. I'm so excited to see how loud that stadium's going to be. Let's rock it. If you're going to be there, be loud.
They will.
Oh, man.
They will. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Darrell.
See ya.
That's James. Go watch some sports.